Let's get down to business to review Mulan. The good one this time. Mulan, directed by Tony Bancroft and Barry Cook, stars Ming Na Wen, Eddie Murphy, and BD Wong. The story is set in China and follows Fa Mulan, who's living under a patriarchal society. As the war against the Huns begins, each family is to send one man, and Mulan ends up taking her father's place to protect his health. Being a female, she's unqualified to serve and impersonates a man to train with the army and fight against the Huns to protect China. I've said it before and I'll say it again, growing up, Mulan was one of my favorite Disney films of all time and still is to this day, and on occasion I'll still revisit it just to relive how amazing it is. Because the live-action film was just such a flop, I wanted to cleanse myself from all of that by talking about the animated classic that pretty much does everything better. And being the Disney enthusiast I am, I just wanted an excuse to talk about a classic Disney film on the channel. And you know, I'm glad the first one is Mulan. Honestly, what is there to say about this film that hasn't been said before? The story itself is compelling that everyone can be impacted by, the songs are powerful and are always fun to listen to, and Mulan herself is probably the most unique when it comes to the Disney princess lineup. I mean, let's be honest, Mulan is the most badass Disney princess. I mean, think about it. When she's first introduced, she isn't exactly one to follow the traditions of China by writing notes on her arms for the matchmaker, studying the movements of those around her, and having a more modern attitude when it comes to her personality.
Fa Mulan.
Present.
Speaking without permission?
Oops.
She's also willing to listen to herself and do what's right by taking her father's place in the army and impersonate a man, pretty much risking everything just because he's too old and fragile to fight anymore. Throughout this movie, she's able to display that badass side of herself basically by going against the law, proving that she has just as much strength and discipline as the guys do. She took down the entire Hun army by herself, and she became the hero of China for God's sake. Hell, she even made everybody look like damn fools when she revealed herself not to be a man. No one wanted to listen to her because of her gender, and I honestly laugh at all of them every time this happens. And by the way, something that I didn't mention in my last Mulan review is how Mulan willingly reveals herself to the army. Instead of the law being to execute her, they end up expelling her from the army, but then she comes back to warn them of the threat, and they end up saying that she can lead the way despite saying they would execute her if she returned. In the animated version, they refused to listen to her even though she was proving to be trustworthy as a guy, but it's all because of her gender, cementing the fact that they still followed the gender stereotype and see her as a liar. What I'm trying to say is that the live-action version of Mulan was already very perfect, and I hate that they made her have it a lot more easy than this version did.
You said you'd trust Ping. Why is Mulan any different?
Yes. I mean, what is there not to love about Mulan? I mean, let's be honest, Mulan is the perfect role model, especially for young little girls, because of her bravery, her determination, and the defiance of the gender stereotypes. And through some of the amazing writing and animation in this story, there's so many great moments in Mulan that make it even more exciting and emotional to watch. Of course, there's the usual ones where she causes the avalanche that takes out the entire Hun army, and even this little scene when she's fighting Shan Yu.
It looks like you're out of ideas.
Not quite.
But scenes that I enjoy the most are when she transforms into a man with this little montage and epic music playing in the background, as well as the end where we get to see all of China bowing down to her. Seeing everything that she had to go through to get to that point, that was a really powerful scene to watch. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I can't believe the live action film took out that scene entirely, and I also still can't believe that they dumbed down the scene with her transforming into a man. But probably the best scene for me is when she ends up presenting the sword of Shan Yu to her father, hoping that she will restore the honor that she may have lost. This scene plays out so perfectly, with Mulan presenting evidence of her success with the sword, the father drops it and ends up saying this to her.
The greatest gift and honor is having you for a daughter.
Yes. It's honestly scenes like this that can always manage to bring a tear to my eye. And Mulan, live action version, you should have been taking your damn notes, because this is how emotional scenes should be playing out. I also gotta say that for a movie that focused heavily on war, there is a lot of funny moments in this movie, and I'm always surprised at how good the humor is. Of course, the live action film made more of its focus on the war, which is probably the only thing that it did well, but in this version of Mulan, there were so many great moments that can always get a laugh out of me, such as when Mulan is pretending to be a man, basically all the scenes with the dudes in the army, Yao, Ling, and Po, and basically all of Mushu.
Dishonor on your whole family. Make a note of this. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow.
Stop. I'm sorry.
Honestly, almost every scene with Mushu in it can always have me laughing, and he's such a presence on screen. Such a fast-paced burst of energy and comedy wouldn't make Mulan the same without him. And it's too bad that the live-action film took him out entirely, but honestly, that's okay with me. At least that's what I would have said if the live-action film wasn't such a piece of crap.
You ain't worth my time, chicken boy.
Chicken boy, say that to my face, you limp noodle.
I will admit though that being played by Eddie Murphy, Mushu can be a hint annoying at times, and he can really mess with the film's tone, but it hardly ever happens, and it is to be expected with a Disney film. And apart from being funny, Mushu can also be a really great companion to Mulan whenever she's in need, and one of the best examples being when she reveals herself to not be a man. Even when acting like himself isn't enough, he can switch to a motivational speaker and say what he needs to help Mulan get back on her feet.
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it. I promise.
And you know, I can't talk about Mulan without talking about the amazing score. Matthew Wilder and David Zippel, whatever. Honestly, they did a great job when it comes to the songs in this movie, and honestly, in my opinion, I don't think they're appreciated enough. The first song, Honor to Us All, is one of the greatest songs when it comes to highlighting the ironies of the gender stereotypes, as well as establishing Mulan's character. We see her struggling to fit in with the other women around her as she prepares to meet the matchmaker, highlighting so many of the superficial traits, both mental and physical. Lyrics such as being calm and obedient, having a tiny waist, and saying a girl can bring honor to her family by finding the perfect companion. It's definitely a very, very clever song when it comes to satirizing the stereotypes. And then there's the song Reflection, which is honestly one of the best Disney songs in my opinion, with Mulan struggling to express her true self while also pretending to be who she isn't. And honestly, I think this song is a lot more relevant now than it ever was.
Look at me, I will never pass for a perfect bride.
Mulan wants to be able to bring honor to her family, but she would be forced to give up who she really is. We understand that her joining the army isn't only to protect her father, but also for herself. In a world with social media, people struggling with identity, and more, Reflection can help in alleviating the insecurities people may be facing and help show their true colors. Watching certain events that play out in the movie make this song a whole lot better the more I hear it. It's such a powerful song that I wish it would get a little bit more recognition than it already has. And honestly, the more I think about it, it's a really, really short song, and it could be longer, but through the time that it's sung, it definitely gets the message across. And then there's also the song A Girl Worth Fighting For, which is probably the weakest in the bunch, and plays out as more of the comedic song.
Hey, think of instead a girl worth fighting for.
It's another one of those songs taking a satirical view at gender stereotypes, but focusing on the validation men seek from the women. The lyrics are pretty funny and clever in this song too, with the men seeking validation for things like their strength and their scars, etc. And in my opinion, I think Chen Po has one of the best lines in this song. Pretty touching, a little sexist, but it's still pretty funny.
It all depends on what she cooks, like beef, pork, chicken.
This song definitely does a great job in getting its message across, but in my opinion, I think it's heavily overshadowed by, you already know what I'm talking about.
Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns.
Oh, yes. I mean, what can I say? What a perfect song to get you motivated and get your heart pumping for pretty much anything. I'll Make a Man Out of You kicks ass, and is the perfect song to show Mulan going through so much hard work and failure to gain the strength and discipline to be in the army. And to basically show that the dude's got nothing on her. What is often seen as a man's job, Mulan is able to prove otherwise in this song alone. Oh my god, every time when I'm watching Mulan and this song comes on, I just get super excited and I can't help but sing along to it. And even if you don't know the lyrics, I'm sure that you try to sing along to it too. Whenever I'm working out and this song just happens to come on during my playlist, I can always find a massive improvement in my performance, and honestly, I can just picture myself training alongside the Chinese army. If you love this song as much as I do, I would highly recommend putting it on when you exercise and see just how much fun you can have while listening to it. I really wish that they did this song justice in the live action version, seeing that it is the best song out of the whole movie, but I guess they did do a nice little nod to it. As for the song in this version of the movie, it can kick ass, and Mulan, it just skyrockets her character.
Of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
If I were to give any negatives to Mulan, other than the fact that Mushu can mess with the tone at times, it has to be the villain, Shan Yu. I mean, out of the whole Disney Renaissance era, there are already so many great villains that are worth mentioning. Ursula, Frollo, Scar, Jafar, and then you have Shan Yu, who goes at the very bottom of that list when it comes to memorability. He doesn't really have much of a character to him, and he's hardly seen throughout this movie. His design is also pretty generic, and he looks pretty similar to the rest of the Huns. I guess the only distinguishing factors about Shan Yu are his eyes and his vampire teeth, but that's really it. He doesn't have any memorable lines, he hardly gets any screen time. He has no charm to his character whatsoever, and the way he's written, he just comes out as a really, really generic villain. Almost all of Shan Yu's lines suffer from the basic villain treatment, and honestly, the only thing that I can remember about his character is that he likes to kill people, which they never show in this movie. Almost every other Disney villain is shown committing their acts, establishing them as a force to be feared. But with Shan Yu, he usually just says what he's gonna do, and the film just shows the aftermath. I'm just glad Mulan was able to put him in his place in the end, though. Overall, though, I gotta say that Mulan is definitely one of the best Disney animated films out there, and it will remain that way for years. And it also seems to be the most underrated. Disney really outdid themselves when it came to this character and story. Mulan is an action-packed adventure that's full of that classic Disney magic we love, with some great characters, animation, songs, and messages. Mulan herself is also a really well-developed character that can serve as a great role model and push many people to believe in themselves and not be afraid of who they really are. It's a film that I think deserves a lot more attention than it deserves. I honestly hate that the live-action version of this film just missed the points of what made this film so great and turned Mulan into this perfect female lead that doesn't go through any failures nor growth. And honestly, they had it practically laid out for them in this movie, but they just decided to walk away from it and do their own thing. As for the animated version of Mulan, she is the perfect example of what it takes to grow as a character. She's the ultimate female hero, and she will always have a special place in my heart. Oh, God, I love Mulan so damn much, and I will always enjoy rewatching it in the future. So with all that, I'm gonna go ahead and give Mulan 9 out of 10 Mushus.
Dishonor on your whole family. Make a note of this. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow.
So I'd like to know, what do you guys think of Mulan? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you not care to watch it? I'd love to know in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more future movie content. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this review. And on Friday, I'm going to be reviewing the direct-to-DVD sequel of Mulan, which is obviously the best, right?
Oh my goodness!